Yesterday, in the previous video actually, I was talking about this book by Shimura, which I've read many, many times. And I thought that was the end. Enough I talked about, but then I realized that there's more, so I want to continue. Because it's so important, and amazingly, this is what it looks like. So, just the number of times I went through, I didn't share that yesterday, so I want to talk about it. And I don't know how I can do it, but I want to translate because this book is not available in English. Anyway, one of the last video I shared about the example of people saving kids almost drowning is under the little title which says there's the power that comes out of us from nowhere, but because of the needs. It's like if there's a will, there's a way. So that was the reason of how we want to get to that source of power to bring out in the way that you don't even look for the reward. You just do for the sake of doing it. So that was one part that I talked about yesterday, but I just want to clarify it because I think maybe I didn't emphasize that the subtitle there was. So on this one, I don't know how much I can do it, but let me try. So the point of what we do in our brain is that we have this cause and effect relationship of if I do it, this happens, and therefore you continue going upward. You know, what is the purpose, how you do it, and why do you do it, why that is the purpose. And the purpose gets higher level, to the point that you have nowhere to go. So you do it for the sake of doing it, as in the case of this saving kids. But in our life, we use the mind in this way and that way for some purpose, and we may not get to the end highest level. So if that is the most important level that we are reach at, we just go halfway between and we are accomplishing the purpose, but we're not getting the highest purpose, which we may find it most meaningful to live a life. Otherwise, we just do things for the sake of doing things. So you buy this and you go there and you watch TV, and because people say, and then you can talk about it. Okay, what's the purpose of talking about it? Because it was fun. What's the purpose of what does that do in your life? Because it's friend and enjoyment and communication. And why do you do that? So keep on doing it until you really understand the meaning of life. And if you stop in the middle, that doesn't quite get it. I guess that's what the main part was. So Aristotle was talking the same thing in terms of the cause and effect diagram, the process all the way to the end. Then you get to somewhere that there's no further objective beyond that. So Shimura talking with Daisetz, but in this case he's reflecting of the Doan, the Zen monk or Zen master, that story. And it says that he goes through kind of similar dialogue of cause and effect in the specific way. So one day Dogen was reading the words of the old masters and listening to insect outside. He once saw one monk asked, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm reading the words of the masters." What's the purpose of it? Answer, Dogen says, is to know how they lived in their life. The next question, what do you do with that? And the Dogen, this time, he was going from Japan to China to meet this guy. Nyojo, I think, was the master. And that's what this happened. So he says, when I go back, I use that to help others, to teach others. And the next question, what's the point of teaching others? And the Dogen says, it is to help them from suffering and delusion. And from here is this lots of comment area. Let me see if I can check it out and see. And then this monk says, Chinese monk says, what's the purpose of saving? What is the real purpose of it? And Dogen was quiet. And after being asked so many times, he had no answer. So he realized that the thought he had in his mind about the relationship of cause and effect, purpose and having fun, if you don't think about any part of it, then it's like what I was talking just at the beginning. It's not quite connected to what's really important. So he realized that. I guess that's the point that I was talking about a few days ago, to ask ourselves what's important. I thought that's a good topic to talk about samadhi. And when you get into the samadhi, ask the question. And if you don't answer the question, you cannot answer the question, leave it. And then come back, because unless you know it, what's the point of it? So it's kind of like that, but this case is approaching from different way. So Dogen realized that he was going through in his mind halfway, but not to the end of it. So that's typical, that we may just go in between, and something is meaningful and useful, but at the end, the final objective, which would be turning out to be not meaningful or not good for anything, because there's no more upward of what to do, then you're not getting there. And then what is that it doesn't do any good? That is, he says, or the Shimura says, the study of truth and the Zen in this case is the benefit, moral related. You do it for the sake of doing it. And the art related to beauty, and then religion related to sincerity is the one that doesn't go any further in terms of what does that get you to. So that's the ultimate purpose. And that's what he says. And I have comments all over the place. I'm just talking to myself how to understand what this process is. Because if you are to save someone, and if that's not the one of the end result, then what is it? You just do it for the sake of doing it. And it may turn out to be that case as a part of this doing things sincerely. So it's just the act of being sincere is the way, just picking up this point related to the spirituality. And I often talk about being sincere and truthful. I picked up that from Daisetz, and it comes back here. In this case, Shimura is talking about it, about sincerity. And be sincere itself would bring out whatever it may not be looking for reward. And if I say I do this YouTube, not because of the fame, money, or teaching you, but sincerity. Yeah, that's one way to put it. Because when I start to do this, and I've been doing it for a long time, I didn't know what I was doing, except I just want to know, and you know, I just kept on going because something is telling me, and that may be related to do things that you cannot figure out but want to do. You know, the kid's example of saving from the water, and in my case, not justified, but what happened is there's some truth perhaps is the reason, and for that I use the YouTube as a vehicle for me to, because I say what gets measured get done. So I have to show something, and how do I show it and prove it? And I have to be accountable. I own it. I am accountable. That's the idea of the mini company. So this is my mini company, my mini universe of me and possible audience, but they may not be there. But to me, it's not the point of the audience, but the truth that I'm looking for. But if it end up in sharing, that's all good. But I didn't think that's the reason. That's right. I did it for the sake of doing it. Now I'm happy. I was not looking for reward. I didn't know that. Is it because of my interest? Okay, maybe that's my fun-loving nature. I talked about the mission and having fun. This is studying myself to know what the sincerity and how to process it, and using the Daisetz and Zen and whatever comes into my, space to pick and choose and kind of play with as a kids, endlessly doing it, and I'm still endlessly doing. And nobody has watched my video anyway. And I often said it. If you go back and find what I'm saying, I'm getting few comments, and I appreciate that. But I felt like I'm talking into the dark universe, and I was happy. I just didn't know. So that may be the ultimate goal in my case that I wanted to do, and I'm living accordingly. And I think that makes sense. So anyway, let me read on. So those are the ultimate goal that may exist. So if you think about trying to be kind, it's not trying, but being kind is the aim. If such is the case, then that is the true kindness. Not looking for return, right? No return, reward. That's what we're talking about. So, but if that's not the point of being kind as the ultimate purpose or goal, but if it's related to your name and promoting something, or even religion, if I want to throw this in here for the sake of something, and therefore, if that is for other purpose to do it, of being kind, and that is not the true kindness. Oh yeah, I have the star and the exclamation mark on this one. I like that one. So in this book, so such kindness is not, they call it Zen in the term of morale. It's very difficult to communicate the goodness, but it's what's the word? It's not the real, hypocritic, I guess that's the word. So to save is to save. That's the purpose. That's what it should be. But for those who always think about, I do this for that sake, and if that happens, this happens, and da 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 da, and such people, if they're asked what is the purpose of saving, if they were asked as such, then he may not realize that's no for the reward, no other higher purpose, and don't realize why he does it ultimately. So reflecting this, I'm glad that I did this part of it. I think I'm understanding what he's talking about. So I didn't prepare to read this before. There's so many of them. Anyway, I came back and I made a mark here and there. And so that's the main part. So Dogen said afterward, reflecting that episode, and he said to his disciple, let's say, the monk in Zen sect should have his own reason of being, and then just sit, meditate, and capture the truth that is it. So if you leave that intention alone, and if you just borrow the ideas from someone, like reading, which I'm doing here, and to use that knowledge to teach others, that Dogen said at the time, that thought that he had was such a stupid thing, the mistake. And I have this little quote penciled in. So this is the wisdom of not looking for reward. One of the four wisdom. I was talking yesterday somewhere about the four wisdom, or two of them, and I didn't get to talk about it because I was busy talking something else. But there's a wisdom comes along with not looking for the reward. Not looking for something to do. You just do it, right? So that's the wisdom. One out of four. The other three, I don't have time to talk about it, but you can check my video, and if you search for wisdom, I think you may find it. Let me come back sometime later. Anyway, so that was the realization, and what he found, that there was a gap. There was the truth is what is the one that he is to go forward. That's the ultimate. So the truth is not for something else. Truth is the ultimate purpose, and that's what he was awakening. Yeah, that's the reason why the awakening, I say, comes everywhere. And that's the endless training, because the acting on that basis has to be captured in the way you live. And I'm full of bullshit. And it's Dogen was, I shouldn't say bullshit, but not there. And he realized that. It may sound too simplistic, but that's a deep realization, let's call it. And he was awakened to that. So he was not looking for way for others or even himself to get the truth. The way toward truth is for its own sake, the truth, its own sake. So once you realize the highest level of the purpose, the cause and effect relationship, the ladder kind of thing, can be seen quite different. So that's the story. So I may follow if I read the next one and if it's interesting to share, but that's the essence of it. I don't want to say anything more because if I say it, probably I make a mistake. And I may talk about the cause and effect in the wrong way. So I leave it with that. But I feel all the comments I made, I haven't even checked carefully, but I didn't even read most of it. I just leave it, my intuition and your intuition, and you to figure out. The reference I can think is that about the kids drowning, and the little comment I said that if you find the energy, the power that comes from as if nowhere, but has to be done, and you want to have that, to live truthfully, sincerely, and that is not looking for the end result to be the way, but the way is the result, to live accordingly with that principle. Yes, I said it. It's not the result, but the process. And I say it all the time. I said it in my consulting and the company situation. It's the ownership and accountability, and it will never end to find what the meaning of why you do what you do at the company or in your life. So that's the spirit, and I hope we will spend a little time on this. Thank you.